Let's talk about the JSM model, or the John Stuart Mill model. This is a strategy or a practice or a framework that I use in my classroom based on the ideas in the book written by John Stuart Mill on liberty. So what does John Stuart Mill say? What does the framework lay out? He who knows only his own side of the case knows little of that. If there is an issue and you have your firm beliefs and you have your one side, but you don't know anything about the other side, then how can you choose? How do you really know? How do you know what you believe is right if you've never heard the criticism? For example, we'll just put it simple up here. Like, you love plain fruit smoothies, vitamin C, fiber, calcium. It's the best. I'm telling you, plain fruit smoothies are the what's a smoothie bomb smoothie? 20% more vitamin C, calcium, omega-3s, protein, iron. What? So you would have never had that realization if you didn't know the other side. So you don't really know what you know until you know what you don't know. You got to know both sides of the argument. You got to know what the other people think or believe or have. And if you understand that, then you can make a decision. But when you didn't know about the smoothie bomb smoothie, you thought, you were under the belief, you were under the impression that this was the best. And then you find out, once you explore the other side, oh, well, you found out about this new thing, but then now maybe you can think more about, oh man, well, the plain fruit smoothie, it's missing this, 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 and this. You didn't know that before. You didn't really know your side till you knew the other side. Let's go a little bit further, maybe make it a little bit easier. If you're unable to refute the reasons on the opposite side, if you do not know what the other side believes, then you have no grounds for preferring either option. Think of it this way. This guy obviously loves the Crunch Wrap. And he says the Crunchwrap's the best. Crunchwrap's so much better than Wendy's chicken nuggets. Have you ever had a Wendy's chicken nugget? No, I have not. Well, how do you know that a Crunchwrap is better than a Wendy's chicken nugget if you've never had a Wendy's chicken nugget? You can't pick. You cannot be the arbiter. You cannot be the judge with the final decision that decides, that declares the decree that the Crunchwrap is the best fast food. You have to try them all. Or you at least need to try other options to be able to compare and contrast. You need to understand the other side before you can pick, before you can make these bold statements. That's what Mill is saying. You got to understand both sides. And once you try everything else and you explore everything else, then you can have a pretty good decision of, oh, okay, well, this is why it's better because I tried this and I don't like the texture, or I don't like the chicken, or I like something a little crunchier or cheesier. You come up with your own reasons. The person that would be best to make all these decisions is someone that's had the Crunch Wrap and the tacos and my favorite, the chalupa, man, the chalupa. I can make that statement because I've had all these, and I can tell you right now, the chalupa is number one. But I feel confident, and it's fair for me to make that statement because I've explored all the options. So let's take that idea of, all right, let's try to understand both sides of an issue so that we really understand and so that we can really form strong beliefs, and then stretch it a little bit further to something a little bit more controversial, like social study topics, especially the controversial ones. So whether you are pro-choice or pro-life, if you're going to make that decision, if you're going to say, this is what I believe, then you probably need to understand what the other side is saying. You need to be able to compare and contrast. You need to understand, if you are pro-life, then why are people pro-choice? That doesn't mean you have to change your mind. That doesn't mean you necessarily even have to accept what they say. But at the very least, you understand it so that you can understand your own views, your own points, your own beliefs more. Maybe, possibly, they'll say things, or you'll learn things that might possibly open your mind and lead to growth. So what can be lost? Absolutely nothing is lost by using the JSM model in a classroom and making sure that topics, especially the controversial ones, are presented from both sides equally and fairly, and with earnest approaches where we really are trying our best to explore the best of both sides, and we're also trying to do the best to explore, to counter and not necessarily attack, but to break down some of the weaker points on both sides. So it's very balanced. That's the JSM model. Again, chicken nuggets versus Crunch Wrap, probably frivolous, but it gives you the idea of, hey, you've got to be able to compare and contrast. You've got to explore all these. Obviously, you would do that with fast food. Obviously, right? We do this fast food. Anyone would say, yeah, you're right. You can't make a decision based on fast food if you haven't tried all these different options. We get that. So why don't we do that in the classroom with these topics? We should do that. That should be the basis of all topics. If we're going to have that common understanding, that conventional approach to fast food, then we should do that for topics in the social studies classroom. And yeah, that's twice the work, right? I just want to study why I am pro-choice. I just want to study why I'm pro-life. It doesn't work that way. You have to do twice the work. I am sorry. I apologize, but I don't, because it's going to help you grow and be better. So we need to make sure that we study both sides of issues. And that means I need to teach both sides of both issues, which means I need to research both sides and deliver that message. But that's what I will do, and that's what you will do. And what's the worst that could happen? Maybe you open your mind, maybe you be more sympathetic, empathetic, more caring, more democratic. Maybe you just learn more about your views and become more stronger in your beliefs. There's nothing that can be lost by doing this approach. And also through teaching, topics will be laid out using different viewpoints. There are many different ways to analyze and interpret history and then to communicate that and explain what happened. And so sometimes we will study the past, the American Revolution, through a critical lens or through a postmodern lens. But at the same time, if we're presenting a lesson where we are looking at it critically, where you're saying, well, the American Revolution was just about old rich white guys that didn't want to pay taxes and they all owned slaves. And that's one part of it. But then there's also the revolutionary part where we do the traditional textbook version where, no, this was about people fighting for freedoms and having an equal government and being free. So you can present history and social topics and economics through both lenses. And that's what's done through the JSM model. It's a very balanced approach. It's democratic. It's fair. It creates a empathetic classroom that is accepting and inclusive for all students. I encourage everyone to use some sort of approach to the John Stuart Mill concepts in On Liberty.